So what's next for CHRIS Eubank Jr? Last night he was victorious in one of the best fights I've seen in a while. Those last few rounds were essentially a Rocky film. Both men neglected their technical skill in favour of having a tear-up, and it just made for a fantastic fight. Benn exceeded my expectations pre-fight. Although I had Eubank Jr. comfortably winning the fight, Benn kept every round competitive, showing an immense amount of heart and a surprisingly good chin. But the talent and experience prevailed and Eubank Jr. got the job done. So what's next for Eubank Jr? Now, the obvious answer would be to do the rematch. Both men put on a fight of the year contender, and I doubt there was anyone who went to watch it live or bought the pay-per-view at home who regretted watching it. The whole event was just superb. When Eubank Sr. came out of his car, it was genuinely a special moment. Just listening to the crowd's reaction just gave me goosebumps. It was just a spectacle. So from Eubank's perspective, why wouldn't you want to do that again? He's got a very nice payday from it, walked out in front of 60,000 fans who were mostly cheering for him, and won the fight clearly in my opinion. He could do that all again and get another big payday, and we know Eubank Jr. is in the sport to maximise his wealth. However, my counterpoint to doing the rematch would be, firstly, he cannot make 160 anymore. That part of his career needs to be finished. He looked visibly drawn out at the weigh-in, and I mean, if you can't make weight because you're over by the same weight as a small battery, then I think it's probably time you move up a division. And there's an argument that Eubank has done his best work at super middleweight anyway. The benefits to doing the rematch make it an almost no-brainer to do so, but personally I'd rather both men go their separate ways. Yes, the first fight was amazing, but let's see both guys try capture a world title in their natural weight classes. Speaking of super middleweight, let's talk about everyone's favourite redhead Mexican, Canelo Alvarez. Now, prior to the Eubank-Benn fight, the WBC said that they would back the winner to get a title shot against Canelo. Now, personally, I don't think Eubank deserves a title shot against Canelo, but if the WBC is saying that, then there's a high chance that that fight can actually happen. Now, we know, of course, Canelo's got a fight on May the 3rd against William Skull. Now, if he comes through that fight unscathed, then there's an actual possibility we could see Eubank vs Canelo at the back end of this year. Also, Canelo has been talking about the idea of fighting in the UK for many years now, but because he's beaten all of our guys, it's hard to get a matchup for him that could bring him over. Eubank Jr. is that guy. Now, by no means is Jr. a world-class fighter. Frankly, Aaron McKenna, who was on his undercard and got a fantastic win against Liam Smith, would cause Eubank a bunch of problems. However, what Jr. does offer is a huge name, and one that could easily sell out a major stadium in the UK. Canelo is a megastar, and matched with a household name like Eubank, that fight could be gigantic in the UK. This fight ticks all the boxes that the Benn rematch does, and then some. It sells out a major stadium, it grants Jr. another huge payday, and more importantly, it allows him to fight for recognised world titles. I don't give Eubank much hope in the fight, but I'd still like to see it. Now, I've been debating whether to include this fighter on here as an option for Eubank, but I will anyway, and that's Billy Joe Saunders. Now, he attended last night's fight as he was asked by Conor Benn in some last-minute mind games to try watch CHRIS get his hands wrapped, and, well, he looked pretty out of shape to say the least. I knew he ballooned up a lot in weight since his defeat to Canelo, but we haven't seen him on camera for a while, and when he did arrive to the event, he looked just as bad as I thought he would. Now, of course, if he could get the fights with Eubank, then he would have the motivation, you'd think, to discipline himself and lose that weight, but it's easier said than done. Saunders is 35 years old, and his last fight was in 2021 when he was brutalised by Canelo. Since then, quite clearly, he's not been living the life. However, with that being said, there's still some unfinished business there, as Eubank was defeated by Billy Joe way back in 2014, which was Eubank's first career loss. I know there's some serious animosity between the two, and I do believe that Eubank would love nothing more than to destroy Saunders and shut him up. Ever since their first fight, Saunders has been goading Eubank for years, saying he'll never win a world title, and he's just not a good fighter, etc, etc. I think it's a massive fight. I don't know if it sells out another major football stadium. I don't know if Billy Joe still holds that name value, but the press conferences alone between the two would build it up into a massive fight, and one that I believe CHRIS would win well considering the stages both men are at in their careers. So those are the three potential options for Eubank. There is of course many other names in the super middleweight and middleweight divisions, but these are the three biggest fights financially, and as I've said, Eubank is in this game to make as much money as possible. So I could definitely see one of three of these fights happening in the future. Let me know in the comments below who you'd want to see Eubank Jr. face next, and as always, thanks very much for watching. I've had to just add this on and re-record because this is just breaking news as of the last 30 minutes, that Turki Al-Sheikh has told Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger that he plans to stage the CHRIS Eubank Jr. Conor Benn rematch in late September at Tottenham. So yeah, let me know what you make of that news. Did you want to see the rematch? Did you not want to see it? As always, again, thanks very much for watching.